Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sarah.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Heartwork podcast. We are so excited to come to you today. We're going to talk about all things team. We know that team is the most beautiful opportunity that we have when it comes to really seeing big movement and big growth within your practice and within your business. And also, we know that change is inevitable. Change is always a thing, but we have the opportunity to be able to help those team members really embrace that change and inspire them, come in and be a cheerleader for them, come in and really be a temperature setter for them as well. So we are going to be talking a lot about what it looks like when systems and processes change, how to continue to instill a lot of vision, mission, and be that cheerleader for them. So we're so excited that you're here today.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about how to inspire my team, I always come back to this analogy or story, if you would, that I read. It's called The Trapeze Artist in the Circle. And I just want to roll through it a little bit because I think it really sets the tone for how I try and think about our team and growing our team as a whole. And like the rising tide lifts all boats. So it talks a lot about how even the most experienced artist or circus artist won't try a totally new deadly trick without a net first. And in fact, they may always insist that it be there for other than the obvious benefit of it'll catch you if you fall. It also provides a very psychological benefit, right? You know that it's there and it gives you the confidence to try something that perhaps you've never done before. And even to continue to try it again until you perfect it. But if you remove the net, the trapeze artist only does the safe tricks. So trust is so important because it allows you to take the risks to make things better or try new things, push new boundaries and ideas. It's a trust that the artist has for circus management by giving the artist the net. And if they are able to give a trapeze artist that net, they're probably affording that kind of quote unquote safety net to other performers too, giving them the confidence to push themselves further to take personal risks or try new things to improve their performance, which then will ultimately push the performance of the whole circus to put on a better show, which will then attract more customers and the whole system thrives, right? Mm-hmm. But none of that would happen without the trust. Like those within an organization have to trust their leaders to provide a net, whether it be practically or whether it be emotionally. And that feeling of support and love allows them the opportunities and the space to more likely put in extra time and effort that would ultimately benefit the group as a whole. And there's always going to be people that will like explore and maybe take risks without a net. And sometimes the reward is really great and they earn very innovative titles, right? But also sometimes like they end up dead before they get to do anything at all. So like there's a big difference between jumping out of a plane with a parachute and jumping out of a plane without one. Like both are probably going to produce really incredible experiences, but only one of those produces the likelihood of doing it again. Mm-hmm. So a trapeze artist with a personality that may be predisposed to taking risks and who does tricks without a net might be an incredible star attraction of an otherwise mediocre show because of this death and risk factor. But if he does die or leaves for another company, like then what? Mm-hmm. What that person did was for self-gain or self-fame, regardless of what the consequences or the benefits were to that organization. The efforts could have benefited the group, but ultimately they'll come with a time limit. And over time, like the system will eventually break down. And oftentimes it's to that system or organization's detriment. So the better long-term strategy in general is to develop trust and provide support to encourage those other than the predilected risk takers, because great organizations become great because the people inside feel protected and have that trust. And a strong sense of culture creates this sense of belonging and inevitably acts as that quote unquote safety net. People come to work knowing that their bosses, their leaders, their colleagues, and the organization as a whole will look out for them, which then results in reciprocal behaviors, and they will act to protect the long-term benefit of that organization or workplace as a whole. And I just love that so much because it's true, right? You come to work enjoying what you do, loving what you do, enjoying the people you're doing it with. You have a purpose. There's a why. There's a meaning behind the work you do. Like, there's just way more motivation to want to make it better, make sure it stays afloat, make sure it's successful, make sure it's going to stick around. And it doesn't just become then the responsibility of the owner because it's their baby or their business, but everyone has a little piece of ownership in that little organization. And I just think it's cool.
It's really cool. And I think all of us want that type of team member, that type of staff that's on your team where they are providing, for one, trust, while at the same time, they're providing innovation, they're providing insight, they're providing feedback on things, and also then trusting you as a leader. And I think you and I have known this a lot, that it does take us as a leader to also trust our team and to provide that space to where we can invite them to get curious about taking ideas and to get curious about providing their feedback and enjoying what they do, and also like putting extra energy and effort into it outside of just showing up and doing a job at the same time.
Absolutely. And I think that it's easy when you're doing that, when someone is first coming onto your team and it's like fresh and it's new and they're first getting on board and they're learning everything and it's really exciting. But then, as you know, and even for us, like, we might get into a routine of the way that we do things. And then one of the wheels becomes squeaky. And something has to change. And maybe you're asking for ideas, you're asking for innovation, maybe you're coming up with something yourself. And now there's change that's going to happen. And sometimes when we introduce change to our team, or even our team introduces change to us, it can get a little sticky. There can be the wondering, like, is this right? Is this not right? Is this going to benefit us? Is it not? Do we do a trial? If we do a trial, is it something that's going to stick, or do we take it away? So it can get challenging to, if there's something that we really want to get on board with, making sure that our team is all bought in and on board for it too.
Yeah.
While also for them, if they're going to come and express something to us and a new idea, whether we're going to take that feedback in and actually make an effort, change with it, or take it in consider and potentially go in a different direction, or not address it at all. How do you navigate and continue to create that culture that will continue to allow them to always want to make and strive it better, while also we will feel supported if we come to our team and wanting to improve or make something better.
Right. I was kind of giggling to that because I know you've probably had this, but whenever you invite change, have you ever had somebody say like, I hate change, I don't want change, right? Like, and it's, I just think about that because I'm just giggling because I hear that a lot. And like, we have done, I mean, goodness, I've been in practice now for almost 9 years. We have changed probably every single couple months, right? We're looking at, and not necessarily like we change everything all at one time, but we're evolving our processes, we're evolving our systems, we're evolving how we talk to our patients, we're evolving how I talk to my team. And it's like you're always navigating what in that season is beautiful for what is necessary now, right? And I think one of the things I've also learned is that change and being able to cheerlead for your team to understand that it's a beautiful thing is because truly, for one, change is the only thing that we can ever count on because life always changes, right? It's like we're never just, and if you're not changing and if you're not evolving, then you're probably kind of stuck in something. That's kind of what I always like. You're not experiencing this life to the fullest because life is organic. Life is beautiful and life only continues to freaking evolve. And so we have the opportunity to be able to empower our team to know that changes doesn't have to be so scary either. And that you can trust it. And you can, especially if they trust you as their leader, they can truly trust then the vision that you have, the mission that you have, and then ultimately that you have their best interest in mind when that comes up. And to be able to then say on turn, okay, cool, but now I want your feedback. okay, let me hear how you feel about it. If you do have some resistance, let's navigate it and figure out what's the resistance. Is it a person problem or is it a process problem? And then ultimately, if it is, especially if it's a process problem, let's figure out the process and let's figure out to be able to how to make that system the best profitable system for you. So for me, it's a big thing. And I've had to learn this like over the course of leading a team from a small team to now a little bit of a bigger team. And I want my team to give me a lot of feedback. I want them to be able to feel like they can, and then they can have innovative ideas, they can run with it, and then they can trust that, again, that feedback loop to where we can talk and we can break it down together. But that took some time too. That took me like championing them as leaders and really saying like, especially if it's like a brand new baby person, like you said, like somebody when they come in, they're so excited half the time, but then it's like, but wait, can I actually do this without you just like looking over my shoulder and making sure, like where it's like, sometimes you just have to be like, look, I trust you. Run with this. If you have a problem along the way, come back and ask me some questions. Like sometimes that's all it is like giving that encouragement and that trust at first. And then eventually as their potential keeps going, it's like you speak that encouragement and say, hey, I see this potential here. You're going to be so freaking great at this. Now let's process and develop this together. And so it really is that journey of like saying that's how you create trust, right? Like that's how you create that space to where they do have the confidence, the encouragement that they know that they are trusted by their boss, by their leader, and then they can then do it for themselves.
Right.
I know that you brought that up, but to where I've had a lot of the way my team has transitioned, we've gone from a lot of just like, I was their main leader. I led over everybody. And then eventually I've now stepped away to where I'm more of a leader over leaders. And we've developed leaders within the company. And now those leaders lead other people. And so that itself is such a, like you dance in some stickiness a little bit, because when you do go to a level of leadership, you really get to navigate, okay, maybe I'm leading now a friend that I was really close with. And now I have to actually be a authority figure, not just a best friend, And
oh my gosh. Yeah.
That is, I mean, I know I've noticed that, but I've had to figure that out myself, but also as a leader, when you're inspiring those team members to do that as well, that can definitely be a sticky space. And so I've had to really help navigate, okay, like what does that actually look like as you're having a conversation? Like you can be close, but also at the same time, you're still an authority figure. So one of the just practical side of that, like a lot of times, like I'll actually go to the full team and we'll give a position change or we'll give a position promotion essentially, so that the whole team knows that there is actually something that's happening. It's not just this confusing thing of like, why is this person talking to me more and trying to tell me to do a lot of other things? Like it has to actually come from the lead and like trusting that journey of that. And so then they can say, okay, cool. Like this person is taking on this role. They're going to be responsible for this. Your now communication feedback is going to go to them and they will come then to me. So that's just an easy way to be able to say that something is, you're basically promoting authority to somebody else at the same time.
Right. I love the way of like bringing in the whole team for that, because so easily, and I've done this too, where I've just shared that with that one team member.
Right.
And then I go to the team and I'm like, by the way, so-and-so is such and such now. But it's like, you don't really get into the nitty gritty of what that actually means in a practical day to day, or what that person knows, the promoted person knows what their role entails, but you don't always clear cut that to the rest of the team. And so there may be some discrepancies in actually understanding what level of authority is truly there and what that actually means. If it's not coming from me, but is coming from that person, it's essentially meaning it's coming from me and that person now together. Right. And I feel like just navigating those conversations, and then also navigating, like you said, the conversations with that leader and what that looks like now as they're stepping into the role. We should definitely add that to the queue for our next episode, because that comes with so many areas of uncharted water, and it's growing pains for both you and the leader, especially if they are a veteran person that's been in your office for a longer period of time, and those relationships and friendships and co-working spaces have already been established, right? Because now you have someone that's kind of stepping into that next leadership or leveling up into that because they're ready for it or they want it, regardless if others don't. But especially if you have potentially a business where two are kind of heading that way, and you end up choosing one, and now that person's the leader, and maybe that person wasn't there as long as the other, and that person's working through their own personal stuff of like, well, I've been here longer, I've been doing this more, I actually helped train this person, and now this person's leading me.
Right.
Like there's just so many nuances. So that we don't know, like, we should talk about that
Yeah, definitely.
at some point. But especially when you talk about change in the office or providing spaces and asking for feedback, like what are some ways that you will kind of open floor that conversation? Or is it something where your team can just approach you on like a one-to-one basis or like, hey, I had this new idea. What does it look like?
I mean, I provide both opportunities, to be honest. Like there are going to be times where people will come to me individually, but a lot of times when it's an individual thing, it's something that they need just on their personal side, unless it's a main like big old system that's like, hey, this just is not working. How can we adapt this or change this? But a lot of times if it's like a big, I think for me, like I watch it, and if it's something that I observe is happening over the course of a couple of weeks, then I'll bring it to an attention to where it's like, hey, this is something that we need to address or talk about. And then a lot of times, so like just in our current state, we are doing some price changes just within our practice.
Ooh.
And so that itself, especially when anything revolves around money, you get to invite people to really look at themselves and really engage what their belief system is around money. And I think if we're all honest, we can have a lot of experience of lack around money. And there's a lot of fear around, if I charge this, then somebody's not gonna be able to do it. Or what are they gonna look at me like if I charge this per certain amount or whatever it may be. And especially if you are leading your team to do any type of financials or sales in your business, they need to know and have the encouragement to know it's like, for one, at the end of the day, like I always tell my team that like you're selling us, but you're not selling you at the same time. So it's like their response is not in a result of who you are as a human being, like they are not buying you. At the end of the day, yes, sure, we are trying to sell our brand and we're trying to sell who we are in the service. And goodness gracious, the life transforming care that we really are going to truly give somebody, right? But it does not reflect on you as a human if they choose to not, or like choose to purchase. And so like for us, we've just recently brought this up, and I went to my leadership team and I had a conversation, and I'm a big proponent of always sharing the why first, besides going in and being like, okay, we're going to change all this and we're going to do this. And now you just got to get on board, like that doesn't work.
No.
At least for me, it doesn't work. So I'm a big fan of coming in, and I shared a lot of just, again, who and why it was important. And really this is for the benefit of our community. It's the benefit of us as a practice. It's going to be the benefit for us as a whole company, so that in turn, gosh, we can go do fun things. We can, like I can pay you more. We can do all these other things too. There's added benefit on all of it. All of it to be said, though, is again, so that we can best be able to serve our community and our people at the highest capacity we can. And then in turn, gave them what I was thinking about. But then I also invited them to give me feedback. And I think one of the coolest things too I've learned in just leadership is that you also have to know your people. Because I have one team member that is so system. Like sometimes she'll look at me when I'm telling something and I'm like, she hates me right now. She hates me right now. She hates me right now. But all she's doing is she's like systematically thinking through every single process, right? Like she's literally thinking through every single scenario. And I love that from her. She's my systems girl. Like that is what her role is anyway. So, and she will literally think through every worst case scenario, every positive. She's going to think through those things. And that's why she's in that role. And then I have one that's just like, cool. Yeah, whatever you tell me, let's do this thing. Like she's just kind of that cheerleader, which is amazing. So like, you just got to know your people at the same time and then allow a breath. I will always then just pause and let them sit with it, and then ask for them to be able to give me a message back or like something back. And then we kind of talk about it. We just did this ourselves, and we still didn't even at the end of our like meeting that we had, we didn't necessarily finalize everything, but then we scheduled another meeting to say, okay, this is our next thing. I'll let you guys work on what you need to work on. Bring me back what you guys were talking about. And then let's come up with a final conclusion after that. So it still gave them a lot of autonomy to really navigate their stuff, their roles specifically within the company, and then how that was going to reflect back so that we could do it as a team. So how have you noticed it now on your side? Because as you're building your team and as you're like building your leadership, have you noticed anything different or seen how that works for you as well?
Well, yeah, I was going to say like what you had said earlier, just even about when you have financial changes, like how that invites your team in to really evaluate their own. And that's so good because It's true. If you do train your team to have those tougher financial conversations, whether it be on the front end, like for us with signing on to chiropractic care, or even on the back end with the potential
Yeah.
discontinuation, like what if you have a team that's not able to have those hard conversations or even just hold space to have the conversations and stay confident within that,
Hmm.
it's really challenging. And if you don't have a team that's fully bought in for your mission,
Right.
if someone just quickly goes, I don't really know about this, they're gonna be like, okay, well, you can go think about it. And it's like,
Right.
well, hold on, like, what is it that they don't know? Is it schedule? Is it truly the finances? If it's the finances, are there ways we can get creative? Can they do a slightly different, financial plan? Is it because they think it's too much? Is it because they don't see the value? Is it because someone went in and already had a predisposed tonality to
Hmm.
explaining the recommendations and then explaining the finances? Like, I know this is a lot, but this is really what your child or you need for care, that it's already
Right.
like it's already filtering in. And you may not even know you're doing it. You may think that the way you're saying that is making it more casual and easily digestible, but then you're leaving wiggle room for it to be, again, casual, not important. We train our team to do financial conversations. And even I sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a big plan. Like we're going in. But if you have the why attached and you have the results and you have the understanding and you see the change that happens day to day, I mean,
Hmm.
shit, what other profession do we get to have where you're literally influencing and changing the trajectory of someone's life
Hmm.
to the degree that we're able to do it, to where they tell us within 12 visits, 24 visits, 2, 3 months that they're already seeing major improvement in these things and they're working out now 5 times a week and they're doing this and they're more present with their family and they went on the vacation that they wanted to go on. I mean, you're literally giving people their life back. There's
Right.
a quote that says, like, when you have your health, you want 1,000 things. When you don't have your health, you just want one freaking thing.
Right.
And it's true. And it's like that has value, that has
Hmm.
meaning. And if we're providing a beautiful experience to our people in our community and to the people that come through that office, why doesn't that come at an opportunistic cost where it can also continue to provide you with the resources to continue to affect other people in the community and train a team and reward a team that's doing a beautiful job in being present for people? Because it's not easy to be in
No.
service of others. It can take a lot from your tank, and to keep that positivity and to hold space and for people in different seasons of their life, like it's a lot. But if you don't have the confidence and if you don't have the belief and if you don't have the strong why and sturdiness behind what you're doing, like those harder conversations where you are asking people to potentially make some kind of a financial quote unquote sacrifice, even though it's
Hmm.
not a sacrifice, it's an investment because they know what their
For
future is
sure.
going to look like. It's just about tailoring and like truly inspiring your team to know those. And then you come to your team with like potentially needing to raise prices. I mean, gosh, even in this last year, like everything's more expensive. Your
Hmm.
apples at the grocery store, you can't get 3 pairs of socks without spending $15. Like,
Right.
it's everything. And so why, if we're spending more for the toilet paper for you to wipe your ass when you're in our office, like, what the cost of things need to increase. Like you just have
Hmm.
to, you just have to go with the ebb and flow of time. And like you naturally have what they tell you to raise your team like salaries 2% each year at least, even just to keep up with the general cost of living. Then you got
Hmm.
inflation on top of that, and that can increase it even more. Like sometimes you have to increase your price per service.
Hmm.
But expressing that to a team, like team will come to you when they want to increase their price per service and their hourly or salary raise, but they don't typically come to you saying, I think we need to raise our prices.
Right.
That's something that comes down from leadership because ultimately the team also isn't, again, it depends on your particular business or practice, but like at least for me in this stage of practice, like I'm the one that takes care of looking at our profit and loss statements and like our bottom line.
Hmm.
My team has authority to order supplies, and we keep like a monthly tab of that now so that we can kind of see what is being spent in just the day-to-day needs of our practice. But I'm still the one that really ultimately has to make the decisions. Are we going to participate in this marketing? Are we going to do this extra event this month? What are we going to do for practice member appreciation? Are we trying to spend X amount of dollars per person or this amount of dollars per person? Like what that looks like. And so when you come to a team and you're talking about raising in prices, there's a little bit of almost a level of transparency that I've learned to kind of provide because I'm literally navigating this conversation right now. So to answer your question about inviting me in, like
Hmm.
I had an hour and a half long talk with our accountant. We were just talking about different processes in the practice and what we're looking to do. We want to bring on another doctor. We want to continue to provide the best service possible. We want to hire another full-time team member so that we can be supported and our staff like continues to also feel like they can take time away for their natural needs in the day-to-day of like life landscape changing. So what does that actually look like for us and what our needs are for practice? And like, what does it actually cost us to keep our, office open and operating? What's that bottom line that each appointment has to cost?
Hmm.
And so sharing a little bit of that, like sharing a little bit of that insight with the team to, like you said, coming to them and saying, hey, this is what X is, this is what's going on, this is what I'm considering and thinking about. And that's why I'm considering this.
Hmm.
Then they know your thought process. Sometimes you come to a team, you're just like, we're doing this. And they're like, where did this come from? What does
Right.
this mean? What does this mean
Yeah.
for me? I just got done training. Now I have to train on a whole new procedure again, and you make them uncomfortable and you're
Right.
shaking up their stability because they're already safe because they're used to doing something a certain way. But with the ever changing flow of business, there's going to be ever changing flow of system, procedures, finances, et cetera. So presenting it to them and sharing a little bit of that transparency, if they're bought in for my mission, they're ultimately going to want to make sure that we succeed.
Hmm.
And so it's about having that why and inspiration stay at the forefront of whatever changes you are making, especially when it comes to what can be a stickier topic like finances, especially if they're in charge in presenting the finances and you're going to have people that are already in your business with a service and you're raising their prices up and they may have to answer the questions about who, what, when, where, why.
Hmm.
You got to be all on the same page about it and all good and bought in for what it means because
Right.
it will ultimately come out in your tone, in your body language, and something else if you're not on board with that price increase. It could be even something as simple as like a subconscious eye roll, like it will come through.
Right. And I think everything, yes, right now we're talking about money and we're talking about a price increase just in general across our board. But what we're talking about is this can happen with any system, right? This
Mm.
can happen with any change. So, like, let's
Mm-hmm.
say you're changing your sales tactic within your
Yeah.
business. Maybe you're changing your marketing strategy. Maybe you're changing a technique, whether even just within your practice or something like that. Like, this is not, it's relevant for us because we are going through this currently, but also ultimately this is for literally truly any system or process change within your space. It's like, in the day, getting to share a why, getting to be able to build this trust in to say like, hey, I'm here for you. This is why we do this in the first place. And at the same time, like, how can I build in this place where if you have ideas, awesome, like let's bridge that so that we can make sure we're all on the same page and that they're freaking bought into that mission, that vision. Why do they show up every single day and then have the opportunity to be able to like do this thing together whenever it comes to any type of system change as well.
Right. And I even think that like having the safety to understand and trust that if it doesn't work out, you can continue to redirect.
Right.
Like we just had something going where we had a little bit of a slower season through summer. And so I typically invest extra in our marketing where we have like Facebook or Instagram ads on social media that'll run and people can like link into a landing page, put their information and potentially schedule an appointment. And sometimes they come in as leads and they don't schedule the appointment right away.
Mm-hmm.
So for a period of time, I was like, you know what? My team does such a beautiful job talking with people over the phone. I want to take this off of our ad agency's plate, save a little bit of extra money, invest that back in my team and have my team do these lead follow-up phone calls because they're going to be the ones that are best qualified to answer the questions, to inspire hope because they see the change in other people every day. And so we created a system around, hey, when that lead comes in, you give them a day, so let's say it's Monday, we see a lead come in. If by Tuesday we don't see that lead follow up with an appointment, you call them.
Mm-hmm.
And we just open the conversation of like, hey, tell me what's going on. We saw that you were interested in our ad. We're excited to learn about you. Like what's happening.
Sure.
And we did that for a little bit. And then just naturally and beautifully, we continued to get busier. And that slow season very much changed. And all of a sudden, our list of leads to call got a little longer and a little longer and a little longer. And so in one of my last one-on-one meetings, I asked the person that's kind of in charge of this system and then leaks out into our other team members, how's this been going? Have we been able to address it? If we're not getting to people within a day, are we getting to them within like 2 or 3 days? Because, when a hot lead comes in, you kind of want to strike when the iron is already, ready to go. So when she shared, it's kind of get put on the side, because if we do end up having a phone call and this person does have a lot of questions and we're a little bit busy with being patient facing, it's harder because now you have a team member down for what was not a pre-scheduled call, but was just kind of going down the list to make sure that anyone who was potentially interested in the practice was getting a touch point to see if there were more questions we could answer. And so now we're not even getting to them within the week because it just continues to go down from there. And so it was like, okay, this is a system we thought might be beneficial to our business and thought may include like a potential increase in close, because I know that you're going to be able to communicate with them in a more effective way. But it's like not getting done at all just because we're being beautifully blessed with being busy. So it's like, you know what, team? I'm putting this back on our ad agency, even if it's done at like 60% of the way that we would do it. It's going to get done. And now you guys have more freedom and less mental decision fatigue to make about what it is you're going to do in that task. Because you got someone coming in 5 minutes. You could easily fit in a quick voicemail or a call in 5 minutes. But if that person has a lot of curiosities and questions, you want to be able to give them the time. But then that takes away from the person in front of you. So it's like navigating that space. And that's okay. We made that change. We tried it out and it didn't work. And my team knows that if something ends up not working out the way that we intend, that we can redirect and create a new system around doing something different. Yeah. And just being able to have that space and have that two-way level of communication where they feel safe in coming to you about it. And if it's something where it's like, you know what, guys, I understand that, but let's actually add an hour of time in on Tuesday mornings where we're going to call all our leads. Like we could have made that as a new direction. Right. So like, it doesn't have to be something where it's always yes or no, but you can, again, create an opportunity where you can be innovative about finding solutions that work for you, work for your team, work for your community, work for your business. And just knowing that, as you said, the only thing that ever stays the same is the fact that everything changes. And so will your systems and procedures. And some things you'll have a beautiful idea about it working and it won't, and you'll have to redirect. And that's totally okay. And that's the point. Right.
I think we could literally talk about systems and processes all the time. And those that are listening, like if you guys have thoughts or questions about something, like let us know. Like if you guys want us to break down, like let's talk about this next time. Like we would love to be able to hear that and really be able to help you guys process this, especially when it comes from the heart-based leadership and really the space of leading from a space of empowered leadership and leading from your heart and really bringing the why forward. So thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us today. I hope you guys learned a little bit of something and really took it from a place of knowing that, hey, we want to invite our team to really have ownership and stock in what we're doing. And then ultimately giving a place of still knowing that we're making incredible change across our communities and our businesses. So we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Bye.